Okay, number 17. So now we have h of x and g of x, and they are both exponential. How do I know that? Because I have a variable that's in the exponent position, and it specifically tells me that the function g of x is exponential. Please do second plus 712. Second plus 712. Okay, well, let's first figure out what is the equation of this exponential. Go to stats and press enter. And then the L1, type in the numbers you see. And L2, type in the corresponding values. Okay, next up, you're going to hit stat, calculate, and go down until you find exponential, regression. And now your calculator is a little different than mine. Hopefully you only have to press enter twice. I have to press enter a few more times, but we should get the same end result. Oh shoot. Do you guys have that result? Okay, what does that mean? That means this equation g of x is, okay, the a is out front. It's my initial value. It's 1/2, or you could write 0.5. They're equivalent values, and then it's 2 raised to the x power. So here's one equation, and here's the other equation. How do I know they're exponential? They both have a variable in the exponent position. Well, let's graph them. So I'm going to go up to y equals, and this is going to be my first equation. So it's my y sub 1. 3 times the quantity 0.5 raised to the x. And my next will be a 0.5 times the quantity 2 raised to the x. Please make sure you're doing the same. Here's h of x is first. H of x is going down. I just don't want there to be any confusion. H of x is going downwards, and g of x is going upwards. Now, how could we have predicted that by simply seeing the equations? Because this rate is between 0 and 1, this is a decay function, so it's going downwards from left to right. And because this rate is greater than 1, it's growth. It's rising from left to right. Okay, so let's look what we have. The first one says the y-intercepts of this function is greater than the y-intercept of this function. Well, let's see. Do second graph, and I'll show you in a second how we could just look at the actual equations. But I can see this is 3 and this is 0.5. Notice this is 3 and this is 0.5. This tells you the y-intercept. So the first one says the y-intercept of this function, 3, is greater than the y-intercept of this function, 0.5. Is 3 greater than 0.5? Circle. The next says the x-intercepts of one is greater than the other. Because we don't have a vertical shift, a number in back that is being moving these functions downward, there is actually no x-intercepts. It looks like there may be, but this is a horizontal asymptote. It's this boundary line that it will never cross unless there would be a shift. So there is no x-intercepts to compare. Okay, now it's saying the values of this function, the y values of this function, are less than the y values of this function when x is greater than 2. So let's go second table, and let's move. It says greater than 2. Let's start at 3. I'm going to say it once again. It says the values of this function, so these values are less than these values from this point onward. Is this less than this? Is this value less? Is this value less? Is this value less? Okay, true? We circle. This is very difficult. It's a lot of analyzing. Okay, it says both functions have the same number of x-intercepts. Well, how many x-intercepts do they both have? 0. So that's true. They both have the same number of x-intercepts. Okay, now this says the y values of this function are greater than the y values of this function when x's are less than 0. Let's go back again and do second. Let's go back again. Okay, let's go back and do second table. And we want to go when x's are less than 0. So all I want to see are the negative x's. And once again, this says that these values for this function will be greater than the values for this function. So are these values greater? That is true. The values of h of x are greater than the values of g of x when x's are less than 0. The next one says that both functions are increasing when x is greater than 0. Well, let's look here. Greater than 0. Hit Windows, please. And let's change this from a 0 to a 10. So we're only looking when x's are going to the right, when x's are increasing. Are they both going upwards? There's the first function, there's the second function. Are they both increasing from left to right? Not happening.